Rosa Dean, a judge from Snaresbrook Court, which is the largest court in Europe, says they have currently 3,000 trials on their books, and the way that they are improving services for victims is once a court date is given, it is honoured. She asks the victims what they want in terms of special measures, and she makes sure it happens. They fix a date in court that suits the victim. If the victim wants a pre-court visit, they are given it. If the victim wants to have a choice to be in court after they have given their evidence, they have every right to be there. During the sentencing process, the victim is able to give their victim person statement in court or remotely, and that every victim has a right to sentencing remarks, and they are given a copy of that. So there's some good practice there for all courts to follow. Just looking at my notes now. I listened to Professor Julian Roberts, who is from the Sentencing Academy, and he was sharing the importance of the victim impact statement. And he said only a quarter of victims are offered it. And it's really important that victims are given information about the scheme. It's an important piece of evidence, and it's often part of the journey of the victim to be able to share the impact of the crime upon them. And when some offenders hear the victim impact statement, they are very sorry for their actions. So he feels that the VIS, the victim impact statement, or the victim personal statement, that it may be known as, he said it's important not only for the victim but also for the offender. Then we heard from Kilvinda Viggers, sorry for mispronouncing your name, who is the Offender Management, HMPPS, and she was saying that her service manages 35,000 offenders, one, to rehabilitate offenders, and two, to protect the public. And she said learning from the lived experiences of victims has helped the way of working with offenders. Then we heard from Simon Sholene Barrett. He is the Minister of Justice and Attorney General for Quebec, and they have specialist rape courts now that they are trialling in Quebec, Canada. And he was explaining that it was really important to rebuild sexual and domestic violence victims' trust in the justice system. It was about providing integrated and adapted psychosocial and judicial services. It was about taking in account the needs of victims before, during, and after the court process. There are currently 10 pilot projects happening in Quebec regions. Victims were given a needs assessment. They were given an ongoing reassessment. There was collaboration between support workers and prosecutors. There was a coordination of services offered to victims. There was partnership development between services and victims. Staff within the criminal justice system in these specialised courts were given basic, specialised, specific and continuous training dependent on who they were. The environment for victims were bright and spacious. There was separation of the victim and the perpetrators. There were remote testimony rooms and there were support dogs provided. In the child witness program, children were given 5 preparatory meetings. They were given support in court. There was a follow-up meeting. Parent participation was encouraged, all to reduce stress on the child victim stroke witness. It has been acknowledged within the Quebec model system that all offences affect victims. All time limits of reporting a crime or gaining redress for the crime have been abolished. There is an emergency financial assistance program for victims of domestic violence. There is a support helpline that offers 4 hours of free legal consultation about the rights of victims of crime. The whole point of the Quebec model is to give better support for victims, to make them feel safe. It's a pathway that builds trust. It acknowledges that each victim has different needs. Male and female victims have the same support. The whole point of the specialised court system is to shorten the delay, to lessen the trauma and re-victimisation on the victim. They have a bill, Bill 12, that protects mothers whose children are born from rape. It's about denying the rights of the aggressor in order to protect the child and rape victim.